Today on the channel, we're talking about Carlos Santana. If you want to make the most of this episode, you should download the free backing tracks that come with it. There's a link below that'll take you to a free sign-up page. Sign up once, and you'll be able to download all the assets of this video and also all the assets of all the videos on the channel. It's free, the link's below. Let's get into today's episode. Hi, this is David. Welcome to episode 3 of What Can We Learn from Carlos Santana. These videos are different. They're not a collection of licks that I'm just going to give you, and they're not meant to help anyone play like Carlos. Instead, they are meant to be active listening sessions, short samples in which we can gather some clues and some new ideas, some nuggets that we can take and apply into our own playing. Because at the end of the day, this is your musical story. This is your story, and the channel is really about helping you develop what? Your musicality. Okay, let's get started with sample number 1. Short, but you know it's Carlos, right? What makes this so recognizable? A couple things, really. Well, more than a couple. There are a few things. But one of the things that I want you to pay attention to is this note right here. I pointed out. Ba, ba, bam. That note. This extract is from the song Oye Como Va, which was released in 1970. See, I'm trying to learn my notes, but I've got them here. From the album Abraxas. And that note at the time sounded very exotic. Nowadays we hear that quite a bit, but that particular note, the major sixth, is, well, let me show you a close-up. We're using the first position of an A minor pentatonic scale. That's going to be the bass that Carlos is going to use to create his improv. And then the theme starts with this kind of thing, which is a minor 7th arpeggio, and all these notes are found within the minor pentatonic scale, but we're adding this note right here, which is on the 2nd string, 7th fret. That note, in relation to A, is a major 6th. That gets into modal playing. This is suggesting that we're using the Dorian mode, because the Dorian mode is really just a minor pentatonic scale to which we're adding a major 2nd and a major 6th. And that's basically what Carlos is doing. Carlos is using an A Dorian mode. Did he know that he was doing that when he was playing this? I don't know, but it doesn't really matter. He heard it, and that's the most important thing. A very simple theme, just a few notes, and that major 6th really sets the flavor, that Latin rock type of flavor. So if you want to play Carlos Santana, think Dorian. That's the first thing. Dorian is minor pentatonic, to which you're adding a major 2nd and a major 6th, which is the characteristic note. There's a few other things here that I'm gonna talk about in the next samples, recurring aspects, and one of them is found in this song. So this is kind of an obscure song. Not many people know it from Carlos, but you will after this. Okay, you know it's Carlos too, right? There are a few more aspects here that I want to talk about. So this Black Magic Moment from the album, the same album, released in 1970. Very minor pentatonic driven. Again, we're in Dorian here. In this case, we're in D Dorian. So not A like the previous one, but D Dorian. Dorian is found throughout this album, with that major 6th again. This is just pentatonic, but there are a few things that are... Pay attention to the rhythm. Especially at the end. It's very loose in the rhythm. that flow of notes. Da, ka, da, 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 ba, bum. This right here. This kind of thing is kind of imperfect. It's kind of, it doesn't really make sense to repeat this note when you are actually practicing and working on organizing all the notes perfectly, which we would do probably in a composition thing. So this tells me that Carlos was probably having a good idea of the theme, but not exactly set in stone. Plus the way that it's played, it's kind of sloppy. It's sloppy, but it's really good. There is tons of intent in that phrase, in those phrases there. You can almost see Carlos's face, like whatever he does when he's playing, but feeling all these notes. If it was the first time I heard this, I'd probably thinking that it's imperfect, it's sloppy, it's not great, but it really is. The more I listen to this kind of stuff, the more I love it. That kind of sloppy playing, imperfect, yet perfect and so recognizable is something that you find a lot in Hendrix's playing too. And that's one of the reasons why I really didn't like Hendrix at first, because I didn't get it. I was very immature musically then. I thought that music had to be absolutely perfect, and I was really into scales, into technique, into all that kind of stuff in my younger years. And now I just really love simple ideas that are delivered with tons of purpose and intent, and that's exactly what's happening here. Even the sound is really imperfect. It's almost like he's not using a cab. Like if I'm using an amp modeler, I would just deactivate the cab and it'll give the same type of tone. So right here I'm gonna deactivate my cab and check this out. Okay, that's maybe a little exaggerated, but that's almost the type of sound that we're getting. Very harsh, very imperfect, but when you're playing with intent and delivery with a crappy sound, it's really magic really happens because you focus on the notes, and I could talk on hours and hours on this kind of stuff, but let's take a listen to sample number 3. Oh my gosh, so beautiful. The melodic appeal of this is so beautiful, so recognizable, so simple. Just a few notes, right? This reminds me a lot of what Satriani would do. And I know they're very, very different players. But if you've watched the episode on Joe Satriani, you know how his melodies are very vocal driven. There's a lot of breaths in there, like silences, and then so that you take a breath. I wouldn't be surprised if before playing this, Carlos was just humming the song inside, because you can hear the breaths. Ba ba da ba da. Da, da, da. You need to take a breath there, right? And you hear it in there. A lot of silences. It was said that the notes that you don't play are more important than the notes you do play. That's a great example. You turn that really loud with headphones or a record with an ambiance. It's magic. It's magical. I love this. I really do. We're gonna do some steps forward here to 1999 with this sample here, and we will still hear some of the characteristics from Carlos's early days. It's still Carlos. Okay, so what do we hear here? A lot of things. Very pentatonic driven. This is the song Smooth, released in 1999. The album is Supernatural. We still have this looseness in the tempo. Carlos is just playing a solo, and almost as here's what I think when I think Carlos Santana. I think that Carlos is playing a solo, engaging in this solo experience with this thing that, yes, he masters to some extent, because you can never fully master it. But I have the feeling that Carlos is also embracing the fact that this can never be mastered, and almost like a wild lion that needs to be tamed. And you hear it in the sound, like really overdriven. Not the modern overdriven, but the vintage overdriven, where the gain is pretty high up. And the attack of the notes, very primal, a very primal way of playing. Let's listen again with these things in mind, like the attack and I don't really control this thing, but I'm still gonna go for it. It's not prepared. I mean, maybe he had an idea that he was gonna do some of these licks, but he's still very much just having an experience there, and you can hear it. And the attack of note is really important. We're in A minor pentatonic here. We're gonna take that first position an octave higher, so we're starting right here on the 19th fret. And we're starting pretty basic. This kind of thing. Very simple. Now this note right here is the major second, right? That suggests again that we're adding to that minor pentatonic scale to make it a little more flavorful. This is again Dorian. But the way that it's played, it's very loose in rhythm, very imperfect again. It makes it so beautiful. If I had to give an attribute to Carlos's playing, it would really be primal playing. He knows his instrument to some degree, but he's still embracing the wildness of the electric guitar, I think, kind of like Jimmy did. All right, let's move on to the next sample. Same album. This sounds like someone who's picked up the guitar a few years back, knows a few tools. I want to say a few years back, like, I don't know, 10 years back, something. And has been playing blues rock for years and is content with it. You can hear happiness in his playing because of the intent. It's not very sophisticated. It's just a few notes, just minor pentatonic. Anybody could figure that out, but nobody can play that way. If you tried to play this exactly the way that it was played, you would completely failed, because even Carlos could not play this exactly the way it was played. The rhythm, again, has so much to do with that delivery. Some notes are really not on the click at all. They're a little bit after, a couple are a little bit before. It's very loose, but it really works. Combine that with the steadiness of what's going on in the back. In the back, everything is like really, I mean, electronic, right? Electronic drums there, I think. Yeah, you can hear a loop. So that's very, very, very steady. But combine that with the loose flow of notes of Santana and the wild beast nature of the guitar that is left a little bit wild. That's what Carlos is. It's really remarkable. Okay, we're gonna go way back with this sample, Evil Ways, from the album Santana, released in 1969. You hear the looseness, right? I wonder if Carlos made a pact with himself to never work on his solos too much and have them live and have the experience be what it is and keep it like that. But I don't think Carlos is the type of guy who would spend hours in the studio overdubbing over and over and over to get the right notes. I think he might spend time doing a lot of takes, but not in research of the right notes and the right delivery of the notes. I think he probably will record over and over until it felt right. That approach is just so anti-modern approach, I think. But look, this was recorded in 1969. It still speaks. It still screams today. It's awesome. Step forward. This was 69. Let's step forward 40 years? 69, 2019. 50 years. Still the same Carlos. The backing track has changed, the recording technology has changed, but he's got still his tone. Notice the attack there, when he's attacking these notes. You can almost hear the strings in there because he's attacking them really, really strongly. Something along those lines. We're in D minor pentatonic here, and if you want to accentuate the attack, here's a little tip. Instead of using the pointy part of your pick that we usually use when we play, you're going to reverse it and you're going to use the rounded part of the pick, which gives a different tone. It's subtle, but it's rounder, it's fuller instead of being a little thinner on the pointy part. So if you want to play Carlos Santana, the first step is probably to hold your pick this way, and all your notes are going to be more intentional. And also in this this idea, we hear this this kind of thing, which is kind of a trademark of all those old school players, and Santana is the king of that. We hear a lot of that hammer on and pull off, those trills type of thing. So here I'm playing the 3rd string, 10th fret, doing a quick hammer on 12 and then pull off on 10. And you can kind of have fun with those. Kind of a classic Carlos trick. It's amazing. 50 years after, still the same player, maybe more refined, but he still kept those original things that made him who he is. Okay, album of this sample is Shaman. The song is called The Game of Love. Check this out. Very bluesy, and this is a little different. This whole album is a little different. I don't know what happened in the album Shaman, but I feel that the looseness is a little polished. It's still a little bit behind the beat, but it's not as loose rhythmically as it used to be. I don't know that I like it or not. Well, I do. I like it. It's different. Notice what's going on in the back? Drums, percussion, there's some vocals. Throughout his career, if you listen to all the albums, you'll notice that he was able to surround himself with some, in my opinion, some of the best rhythm musicians in the back, whether it's percussion, drums, keyboards. It's incredible. Like, playing with Carlos's band would make any player sound great. They're so good, so tight, so musical. Honestly, it's the kind of thing where you listen to any of Carlos's song, whether it's a modern or old school type of song, you can listen to it differently depending on which instrument you decide to follow. I challenge you to try that. With any of these songs, just pick a Carlos song and decide, all right, I'm going to follow the percussion. You'll have an experience. Now I'm going to follow Carlos, different experience. Yes, you can kind of do that with any other artist, but Carlos really is a great example of that multi-layered type of song experience. You should try it. I'm learning so much just by revisiting these legends, these legendary players. The beauty of these players is that they're not flashy players. They're not gonna come out and blow your mind if you're a 15-year-old kid. Probably not. It's like wine. Give a taste of wine to a 4-year-old, he's gonna, I don't want wine anymore. Give it to a 50-year-old or 40 or 43. I'm gonna like it. Well, maybe a bad analogy. Anyways, there's so much to unpack here. I hope you learn a few things, and I highly encourage you to try these out on your own. I am including a couple backing tracks for you that you can download as well for free. The link is below if you want to try these out. And then if you want to stick around for other videos, I'm going to link to the playlist with all the episodes of What Can You Learn From. Episode 1 was on Joe Satriani, and then we checked out Andy Timmons and Hendrix, of course. Anyways, check it out. I'll meet you right there, and download the backing tracks below. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you have any suggestions for new artists, let me know. I'll see you next time. Practice well.